It's time for The Story Behind the Person, featuring lively, in-depth conversation with compelling guests from our community. And here is our host, Jonathan Van Bilsen.
Hello and welcome to this episode. My guest today is Don Lovisa, president of Durham College. We'll learn all about issues facing students, staff, and the establishment during unprecedented times, as well as what the pandemic meant to education. We'll also get a glimpse into the life of Mr. Lovisa, his accomplishments, his involvement in the community. We'll be right back after these messages.
Top care with top stylists. Book your next hair appointment with Port Perry's award-winning hair salon, Rosario Greco Styles. The hair experience you deserve. Book today. Call 905-985-0099.
Welcome back. As I mentioned, my guest today is Don Lovisa, the president of Durham College. Don, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan.
So, Durham College has been going since 1967, I believe, right?
That's correct.
And you are the fifth president?
I am, yes.
So what's that like? What does the president of Durham College do? And if you say everything, I will believe you.
No, it's interesting because I get that question a lot. And I always break it down to three things. I spend about a third of my time in the institution providing overall leadership and support, a third of my time in the community, building community partnerships, and a third of my time in politics, whether municipal, provincial, or federal politics, advocating for Durham College and also for the college system.
Okay, so you're lobbying more or less too.
Lobbying, advocating, we call it advocating.
Right, right. Okay, we'll be politically correct on this show, as we always are. There's Durham College and there's University.
Ontario Tech University.
Ontario Tech, yes. So what is the difference between the two? Because they started out as Durham College, correct?
Durham College started at UIT at the time. That's 20 years ago.
Right.
And it was started and very dependent on Durham College. Durham College delivered all services with the exception of teaching services. They were independent. We had a shared board of governors, we had one board chair, we had one president at one time. Right. And over the years, it's merged into two separate organizations with separate mandates, separate government acts that we work under. And right now, Durham College still delivers a lot of services to the university, all IT facilities. They're still built on Durham College's land, but we are separate and distinct institutions, from a board of governors to presidents to the way we operate. We have a lot of shared programs, so it's a real opportunity for our students to go to OnTech, but also for OnTech students to come to Durham College. And that's been the interesting transition, is that when it was built, it was thought that it would be a pathway for Durham colleges to students to continue their education for a degree. In fact, we get more students coming the other way now.
Is that right?
We get more on-tech students coming to us to take more applied programs and do graduate level education at Durham College. And that way they combine their degree education, their foundational theory education to applied education. They're far more employable, but it's been a wonderful partnership as far as the students are concerned. But we are separate and distinct.
But you're all under one roof, so to speak. You're in one piece of land, right?
One piece of land. We share some buildings. We share recreational facilities. But our classrooms, our student social spaces are distinct. They're separate. We share a library. So there are some shared buildings. Yeah.
So and when it first started, I guess you said under one president. Would that have been Gary Polonsky?
That was Gary Polonsky, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I met Gary. I saw him not long ago because he's a big advocate a big proponent of the Durham Youth Orchestra.
That's right. Yeah. I saw Gary a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah, and I remember he did a CD back in the 90s, his musical career, which I'm not sure how well it took off.
We found those in the archives.
Yeah, I have one if you want to.
No, I don't want one, thank you. I have one, thanks. But
oh dear, okay.
He was also from Thunder Bay, by the way.
That's right, I was going to say, because it seemed like, and did he not move back to Thunder Bay when you moved out this way?
No, he bought a cottage there.
Maybe that's what it was.
So he bought a lake home in Thunder Bay and went between Oshawa and Thunder Bay.
So you bring up Thunder Bay. So you're from Fort Frances, is that correct?
I grew up in Fort Frances.
And Fort Frances is very close to Thunder Bay?
It's about a 4-hour drive.
Okay.
Everything in Northern Ontario is 4 hours away, right?
Right, or further.
Or further.
Further.
Yes.
I've been
4
to
hours
Hornpay.
was a minimum.
And I guess at that time it was Prince William, Fort William, Prince Arthur?
No, you're thinking of Thunder Bay. At one time, Thunder Bay was Port Arthur and Fort William.
Right.
And they amalgamated to Thunder Bay. Fort Frances is on the U.S. border, almost on the Manitoba border.
Okay.
Borders with International Falls, Minnesota. So it's a small town, about 7,000 people.
Right.
Cottage country type of thing. And Confederation College had a satellite campus there, so that's how I got into the college system, through them.
And so you grew up there. You were born there, grew up there. So your parents are of Italian descent.
Yes.
And how do people from Italy end up in Fort Frances? Like, how does that work?
Well, it was the immigration that we saw in the 30s and the 40s when Canada was expanding their dams and their paper mills and their infrastructure, and Italians, Ukrainians, Polish people, they came over through that immigration wave, and my family, my grandparents were a part of that.
And what did they actually do in Fort Frances when they arrived?
One of them worked in the paper mill.
Okay.
Giovanni Lovisa, and then Giovanni Ditero. He worked as a security guard in the paper mill as well.
Okay, because there's not a lot of industry other than pulp and paper.
It was paper.
Yeah,
pulp and paper. Yeah, I mean, there's logging. Obviously,
there's also mining in that general facility, but
Yep.
it's a tough grind.
And most of the pulp and paper mills have disappeared from Northern Ontario.
Yeah.
Fort Frances is gone. Kenora is gone. There's very few paper machines running now. I think Thunder Bay is the only one.
I think Canfor was the company that used to really be big in that area. And,
it was Abitibi. It was Mando, Abitibi Consolidated.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last company that was there, but because I was gone for years before the next company.
But while you were there, you did work as I've got down as a shoe salesman, but you were a clothing salesman, right?
I was, yeah.
Was that a sort of aspiration? That's what you wanted to do the rest of your life, is sell clothes in Fort Frances?
I started working in retail in high school.
Okay.
And I worked every day after school, Friday nights until 9 and Saturdays.
Wow.
And of course, at that time, stores closed at 5:30 and were closed Sundays. And I worked for a company called McTaggart's Clothing Store. It was a chain throughout Northern Ontario. And eventually opened a store for them in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Okay.
I moved there shortly after getting married. So I spent quite a few years with McTaggart's right through high school.
Right.
And then decided in my early 20s that I was smart enough and had enough money to start my own menswear store, which I did at 24 years old.
Really?
I did, yeah.
Now, were you in Winnipeg at this time?
I was back in Fort Frances by that time. My wife wanted to go back, and we had our daughters, so we went back to Fort Frances.
Right.
So I opened it at 24, and I went bankrupt at 29.
Oh, good, good. That's a long time to go, though. A lot of companies don't last that long.
That was the years when you had loans at 18, 19, 20%.
I remember those.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember those.
Yes.
Gosh, yeah, GICs were doing well at 17%,
They were.
though.
If you had money in the bank, it worked.
I know. So you decided then to get out of the clothing business, and
yeah, I had no choice.
Yeah.
Bankrupt, really nothing left materially, and I went and worked for a newspaper for a little while, and met a fellow from the Northwest Enterprise Center, which was an entrepreneurial arm of Confederation College, and made my way into the system as a small business consultant.
Okay.
I was a bankrupt businessman. I convinced the dean at the time that I could help other people not make the same mistakes.
Well, and that's a big asset, really, because it's easy to listen to people who are great because they can tell you how great they are, but somebody who has failed can show you how not to do it again. Right?
So I did that for a few years, and that got me into the college system, the Northwest Enterprise Center.
Okay. So from there you went into, now this is still in Fort Frances area.
It is, yes.
Okay, so you obviously left that area somehow, sometime during your career.
Eventually I went to the main campus in Thunder Bay as a dean, and I worked there for a few years as a dean before I came to 2007. I came to Oshawa and was hired by Durham College as vice president academic.
So what's the difference between a dean and a vice president? Or a dean and a president?
Level of responsibility.
Okay.
So vice president academic, all the deans would report to that person.
Okay.
And then as president, the vice president academic would report to me as president.
Okay. And as dean, that area of responsibility would report to you, sort of thing.
As the vice president, that's right. So you'd have a dean of business, for example, dean of health, dean of media, art, and design, and so they would
all the business reports to the dean of business. The dean of business with the other deans reports to the vice president.
The dean of business would be responsible for all the students enrolled in the business programs, the faculty who teach full-time and part-time in that program, and they'd be responsible for the basic operation of that school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And from Thunder Bay, did you move to here.
Oshawa, yes.
So when you said you lived in Winnipeg, that was back in the clothing days.
That was back in the closing days.
Okay.
Yes.
You didn't see Winnipeg as your permanent home forever?
I thought I did at the time.
Really?
Yeah, I thought, in 1979, I think I
You were
moved there.
resilient. You were resilient.
I thought, a young man, just married. We had good jobs. We were enjoying life. There was a good restaurant, and we had lots of friends. We thought, yeah, sure, but that didn't work out either. But
yeah, well,
sometimes plans don't work out, as we know, right?
I stood on the corner of Portage and Main in
Oh,
February,
yes.
and let me tell you, there are other places I think I would rather stay.
I agree.
Yeah. So when you and I met was maybe 5-6 years ago in a restaurant in Port Perry that just opened,
Yes.
and it was before it was opening because I had done some stuff there, some work there, and I saw this fellow painting the ceiling, and I thought to myself, boy, I hope that's not his full-time career. And that was you, because it was
Come on, I did a good
you did a
job.
great job. I'm kidding, but it was your son's restaurant,
It
right?
is, yes.
And it's doing very, very well. And it's called the Foundry
Kitchen and Bar.
Kitchen Bar,
Yeah.
right, in Port Perry. So we'll plug that.
Thank you.
And if you do go there, make sure you check out the ceilings because they are very well painted.
As are the walls.
Oh, you did the full thing?
I did the whole thing.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
So now, as you said, you primarily divide your time 3 ways.
Yes.
So running the college is obviously one of the most important things.
Yes.
So on a day-to-day basis, what do you do? Put out fires, or do you do primarily future planning, or a combination of both?
It's a combination of everything. I report to a board of governors.
Right.
So I manage a board as well of 16 people that I report to. So that takes some time, doing agendas, reports for the boards, responding to their inquiries.
Right.
I sit on a provincial board for all colleges in Ontario.
Okay.
I also sit on a national board for college institutes across Canada. And I've sat on other boards as well, so that also takes up your time. So, I mean, inside the institution, I'm meeting with my vice presidents and my leadership team on a regular basis just to ensure I know what's going on, problem solving, talking about the future, looking at strategy, our business plan. It's a mixture of everything. And in these jobs, some days you have all the best laid plans, and the whole world falls apart. So then you deal with that, right?
I mean, it's. I look at it as a very difficult position because you're responsible for the workforce, for putting a workforce out there.
Yeah.
And what you're doing today won't really have an effect for 3 or 4 years. And what will happen in 3 or 4 years could be totally different than what it is today. Correct. So I look at that as a real challenge to know what's going on.
Education generally, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a rewarding career.
Mm-hmm.
You get to meet, you have alumni working here.
That's
you
right.
get to meet people, and I've met, thousands of people in the Durham region and beyond that went to Durham College, and they tell you their life stories and the great experience they had at Durham. And it's very rewarding to think that you're a small part of their lives. But you always have to pay attention to what's going on in the labor market, what's going on in technology, new careers. And so we're always developing new programs.
And the trends too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Trends,
and counseling programs that don't make sense anymore. So
Yep.
colleges are very nimble. We have a group of about 1,000 people that sit down with our deans on an annual basis twice a year to talk about our programs in great detail.
Right.
So that keeps us nimble. So, I mean, from a leadership perspective, you're always looking at that and building partnerships where we can get industry to support us as well.
Right, right. I'm gonna hold you for a second because we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna get more into this because I'm really interested in exactly what it is you do to provide people with the tools for the future. So we'll talk. Please stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages.
PP Print is excited to offer Port Perry wearables, featuring 2 great designs. Show your Skoogog pride with apparel and headwear. We have you covered. PP Print, more than just print.
At Voss, your independent grocer, it's all about hometown living and shopping. Owned and operated by Terry and Christine Voss, their newly renovated Port Perry store carries many local items to support our town and its residents.
Welcome back. My guest today is Don Lovisa, the president of Durham College. Don, welcome back.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting to learn about the education system today because most people around my age have been out of it for so long that we don't really understand what happens anymore. I understand you can't give the strap anymore. Those days are gone.
We never did.
So you said part of your responsibility is political.
That's right.
Liaison, or I guess negotiating with different entities, lobbying as a word that we don't use, but that sort of thing. So what exactly does that include? Is that federal, provincial, municipal?
Good question. So I meet with our members of parliament quite often, both at the provincial and federal level, to help them understand the local priorities for Durham College, where we're going as an institution, where we need their help from a financial and a policy perspective. And then because I work in a system, we also then take that opportunity to talk about system priorities as well. So on Colleges Ontario looks at the provincial priorities. College Institutes Canada, CICAN, looks at a federal picture. Okay. And I sit on both those boards. So it's really sort of educating the politicians, educating community, educating leaders about what the college is, what we do, and where we need partnerships, where we need alliances, and where we need to work together.
How are you funded?
Not well, to tell you the truth. So college funding has shrunk consistently for 15 years. Okay. So we're Crown corporations, but we receive less than 30% of our money from the province.
Okay.
Yeah, most people think we're fully funded,
right.
But we're not. So 30% comes from the province. Tuition, obviously, is a second source. International tuitions is a very big source.
Is it? Yeah.
And of course, ancillary operations, parking, food, cafeterias, and stuff like that. So there's 4 main sources, and of course, we do some contract work as well. But yeah, the provincial government is smaller and smaller, player all the time, unfortunately, and that's one of the areas that we, as a system, continue to lobby on. Is that we need to take a close look at the funding for colleges in Ontario.
Why do you think that's been shrinking?
Because as colleges, we find solutions to it over and over again. Okay. I mean, international students now carry the system. What
percentage would be international? How many students do you have, roughly?
We have about 13,000 full-time students.
And how many of those would be international?
Right now, about 25%.
Really, that high?
Yeah, so in January, it'll be 30%. And we're the lowest in the province.
Really?
Most colleges have 55 to 75% international students.
Is that done intentionally, or is that just...
It's done intentionally to balance budgets.
Okay.
Absolutely. Balance budgets and also raise capital.
Right.
For example, we don't see a lot of capital from the governments anymore. Mm-hmm. We just built a $40 million building in Whitby, but there was no government money in that. We raised that money locally.
Wow.
So that's one of the challenges that we have as colleges right across the province, right across this country, actually. Mm-hmm. And so we are working with governments to try to help them understand that the challenges that are before us.
So the international students, are they from all over, or is there a specific area of the world that...
System-wide, a high percentage of them are from India.
Okay.
Durham College, we have 75 different countries on our campus.
Wow.
55% of those students would come from India, but the rest would come from all around the world.
So why would someone from India come to Durham College? Like, what do you have that they can't get in India or in other places? Is that what it is?
Canada,
really?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, students come to Canada institutions in the hopes of completing an education. If they do 2 years of education at a college, they can work for 2 years. Okay. And that can give them, an up and getting a career. Once they have a career, they get landed immigrant status, and they can start to live in Canada.
Right.
And so that's one of the primary reasons. But a lot of students also come to Canada because we have a very high quality college system. It's known around the world.
Right.
And I've traveled around the world helping other countries, and as do my staff, modernize their system to look like Ontario.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so we have yeah, it is very much so. So we have a good reputation. Some students come and you have a Canadian credential, you go home, you get a very good job as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. I know we have a lot of foreign students, but I wasn't aware what the real reason was, what the motivation factor. So you're saying a lot of students who come here from different countries have the intention of staying here the rest of their life.
That's right.
If at all possible.
They're hoping to, yeah.
So what sort of programs would attract people from different parts? Like is it technology? Is it your culinary skills? Is it...
it's changed over the years.
Yeah.
At first, international students would look at business, they would look at technology, they would look at engineering type of programs, but now it's become a lot broader. We see them in culinary, as you've mentioned, in hospitality. We see them in media art design. We see them in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. We see them really across the college now. The hardest one to put them into is health programs because they're regulated.
Right.
But we're starting to see international students in early childhood education, development services worker.
Right.
And as our population becomes more diverse, then we're having more diversity in our student graduates as well, fulfilling that need in the community.
And even I think the government is bending on, from a healthcare perspective, because there's such a shortage that they're changing some of the rules. Like you no longer have to, if you're a physician in Delhi, you no longer have to do a 10-year course here or whatever it is. To,
for colleges, we're working with the government right now to deal with internationally trained nurses and to provide that bridging they need to become a trained nurse in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you mentioned AI. You have an AI hub.
We do, yes.
So what exactly, I know artificial intelligence, the word itself scares me.
Yeah.
Because it'll soon replace me. In fact, I heard this morning on the radio that there's a new program, I forget the name of the company, Chat something or other, they've come out with, and all you have to do is just simply say, write me a 200-word essay on whatever, and it will put it out.
We've been playing with that software for a couple of weeks now at the college,
right?
And trying to take a look at what it means to plagiarism, what it means to teaching and learning, what it means to evaluation of students, and what it means to opportunities as well. So we're actually looking at that right now. The AI Hub is one of 5 research hubs. Colleges do applied research, which is short-term problem solving. A company comes to us and says, we have this problem, or we want to learn about AI. We want to implement AI into our system. So they come to us. We have a professional team that sit down and define the problem. We match students who are studying that area along with faculty, and we work to develop solutions, prototypes for businesses. So we do that in AI, we do that in cybersecurity, we do that in social innovation, we do that in brewing as well, and we also do it in...
I'm sorry, what was the last
brewing,
Brewing.
And also mixed reality, so virtual reality and gaming and animation and those type of things.
Wow.
And we are about to open the 6th center, which is an innovation center in technology and trades at the Whitby campus. And what that does, it provides those students with a hands-on, applied learning opportunity.
Right.
And guess what happens when they develop a really good prototype for you as an employer?
It gets
employer says, you're not going anywhere, I'm hiring you. So
exactly.
it ends up in really good jobs for them too.
So let's say that I own a large organization. I want to build a robot that does a specific thing.
Yeah.
So I come to you and I say, build me one, or come up with the idea.
That would be too big. So the big other scenario, I built a robot, but I have this small problem with it. I can't get the language to work, or I can't get this particular part of it work. So we're working on a solution for that, on a component of it. If it's a small prototype, maybe a robotic arm, we would try to do that. But it's AI is more about language and about using data, and so we would help them with those type of problems.
And you would then charge me for that solution?
Yeah, so it's funded partly by the federal government, by the employer, and the college's investment is our time, our faculty, and our students. And some businesses that are larger come to us and they buy that services directly with us as well.
Okay, and who does that negotiating? Is that like your dean of?
We have a dean of research and innovation, and she has a team of very highly qualified people in all those areas. And even in the brewing area, we do research for microbreweries.
Really?
We help them develop new recipes.
Do you train brewmasters too? Is that?
No, we don't train them. What we have is a small brew line with a very talented brewmaster. Companies will come to us. They don't want to take their brew line offline. They'll come to us and say, I have this idea. And so can you help us with this? So we have the scientific equipment, we have the brewing equipment, and we'll help them develop new products.
Okay. So let's talk, as your son is in the restaurant business, let's talk about the food industry. So you folks have your own department, your own restaurant?
Yes.
And is that on campus, or is that?
Yeah, the Whitby campus has a Center for Food, which is an umbrella for a restaurant and a number of programs, and also an urban farm. So the restaurant, Bistro 67, I'll plug that.
Bistro 67, we'll put that on the screen.
So it was named by Open Table as one of Canada's top 100 most scenic restaurants.
Really?
And one of Canada's top 50 vegetarian restaurants. And it's the only green certified teaching restaurant in Canada. So it's part of a larger infrastructure around urban agriculture.
And green certified means exactly that?
Everything we do. The way we built it, our processes, the way we recycle, compost, everything that we do in that restaurant.
Where is it? What's the location? What's the address? The address for the restaurant?
It's attached to our Whitby campus on Champlain Avenue.
Champlain Avenue,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I think of Durham College as Simcoe Street, where the speed camera is.
Yes,
right?
no, speed, where to get tickets, yes.
Yeah.
No, there's no speed camera there, but it's really a neat project because the urban farm that's in front of it, we've just received a $5 million grant from the Barrett Foundation to replicate our urban farm model and to create an international conversation about urban farm and the better use of land in urban areas to produce food.
Right.
So we have a very high yield, sustainable urban farm there that is getting the attention right across this nation. And so we're working with partners right across Canada right now to really take a look at what we can do around food security, new ways of growing, whether it's vertical, container growing, greenhouse growing, or growing in the earth.
So that's the research element, and I get that. So people who are very dedicated to making the restaurant industry, the food industry better would be taking courses and work there. What about someone who wants to be in the hospitality industry? Would they also work there?
Yeah, so students would rotate through the restaurant,
okay.
Both hospitality and also the culinary students and the event management students. And the culinary students work with our farming students. So our culinary students will walk down into the farm, down to the gardens, they'll pick the herbs they need, the vegetables they need, and they'll process them and cook them.
So you have let's say it's a three-year course. So if I like a restaurant and the chef leaves after 3 years, I'm not going to be happy. So how do you make sure that you have the same sort of product, if you like, that are growing very slowly, that are getting better slowly, rather than just...
Depends how well you trained your B team. Maybe your B team is just as talented, but it's all about recipes.
Right.
And allowing every chef some creativity to really put their own mark on the kitchen as well, right?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Don, we're out of time.
Thank you.
It goes quickly. Thank you so much for being here. It was very, very, very enlightening. I've learned a lot. I'm definitely going to try that restaurant out and enjoy that. And all the best with the future. And thank you very much for what you do.
Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Please join us every month right here to find out the story behind the person on Rogers TV.